In the dim membrane space, the black void swallowing flame swept outward like a vast black curtain, enveloping the entire spatial realm within just 10 minutes. During this process, the space showed no reaction at all, indicating that the Dimension Embryo's attention was fully focused on the ring left behind by Xiao. In a void, Xiao stood in midair, gazing at the endless black curtain before him. He couldn't help but marvel at the terrifying power of the heavenly supreme known as Long Yuan. As expected of a true heavenly supreme powerhouse, with Xiao current strength as a mid-stage Earth Supreme, controlling the void-swallowing flame to devour this spatial realm was not impossible, but it would take at least a day. Even then, it would be difficult to ensure that the Dimension Embryo wouldn't notice. Indeed, the end of his journey to the path of ultimate strength was still far beyond his reach. After the entire spatial realm had been encompassed, Long Yuan began carefully devouring it over the next hour. Within that time, the originally massive realm, spanning millions of miles, had been reduced to less than 800,000 miles. Moreover, as the devouring process continued, it became increasingly easier. Larger spaces were more stable, but as the spatial realm shrank, its stability weakened. A space comparable to an advanced lower dimension, once reduced to just tens of thousands of miles in size, effectively degraded into an intermediate lower dimension. Beside him, Xiao expression was solemn. At this moment, he could only hope that Long Yuan's devouring would go unnoticed by the Dimension Embryo. However, if the space shrank too much, it would inevitably be discovered. Thus, Xiao instructed Long Yuan to reduce the realm to only tens of thousands of miles in size. Another half-hour passed. By now, the spatial realm before Xiao had been reduced to less than 500,000 miles. Any further reduction would require even greater caution. When the spatial realm was finally devoured to just about 300,000 miles, the process came to a halt. Hovering above the spatial realm, Long Yuan took a deep breath as he gazed at the greatly diminished space below him. He then released all the void-swallowing flame within his body to stabilize this shrunken realm. With a flicker of his figure, he appeared in front of Xiao. "What's next?" Long Yuan asked Xiao. "Enter directly and reach the location of the parchment as quickly as possible. With some luck, we might catch sight of the Dimension Embryo," Xiao replied. "How do we capture it?" Long Yuan asked again. If the entire spatial realm was part of the Dimension Embryo's body, it could easily teleport itself to another part of the realm upon being discovered. In that case, chasing it down would be difficult. While continuing to devour the spatial realm until the embryo had nowhere left to hide was an option, the numerous ancient stone tablets within the space made that plan impossible. Hearing this, Xiao pondered for a moment before answering, I don't know. For now, let's confirm if it's truly the Dimension Embryo," Xiao added. "Let's go in and take a look." As his words fell, Xiao placed his hand on the shrunken spatial realm enveloped by the void-swallowing flame. Under their watchful gaze, the space began to distort. In the next moment, a space passage about a dozen feet wide formed. With the fastest speed possible, Xiao deep voice echoed. In the blink of an eye, their figures transformed into streaks of light and darted into the space passage. Swish! Within the shrunken spatial realm, space twisted. Two figures moved at extreme speed, piercing through the distortion, Xiao and Long Yuan. Their destination was the massive boulder, standing tens of thousands of miles ahead on the ground. However, as soon as they entered the spatial realm, both Xiao and Long Yuan came to an abrupt halt. Their gazes froze, seemingly stunned by what they saw. Not far from the distorted space, a white-clad figure hovered in midair. It was a boy who appeared to be no more than 10 years old. In his hands, he held a large parchment and a glowing storage ring. Seeing this figure standing before them, both Xiao and Long Yuan narrowed their eyes slightly. Their instincts told them that this boy was most likely the so-called Dimension Embryo. Dragon Origin was even more surprised. He hadn't expected a top-tier dimensional embryo with such intelligence and a human form to truly exist. A glimmer of dim light flickered in Xiao eyes. It seemed that all his previous arrangements and actions had been observed by this dimensional embryo. Moreover, the latter had merely cooperated to complete this game-like plan. Both he and Dragon Origin had been played by this dimensional embryo. "Greetings, Master of Shard 140, the boy in white said. As Xiao Yin and Dragon Origin froze in shock, the boy tossed a parchment at them and addressed Xiao Yin directly. "Are you the dimensional embryo of the continent of Doqi?" Xiao Yin asked. "Yes," the boy replied. "That Dragon Emperor guy left me here over 10,000 years ago. Then why were you toying with us just now?" Xiao Yin asked, evidently speechless about the embryo's behavior. "I've been stuck here for 10,000 years. Back on the continent of Doqi, it wasn't so bad, but here? It's dull beyond imagination," the boy replied. "I've seen other dimensional embryos from lower dimensions before, but a dimensional embryo that can take human form. This is the first time I've heard of such a thing," Dragon Origin finally spoke. "There's a lot you don't know," the boy retorted. Hearing this, Dragon Origin and Xiao Yin exchanged glances. Though the dimensional embryo appeared to be only about 10 human years old, it spoke with the tone of an elder scolding juniors. Clearly, this being's existence spanned far longer than Dragon Origin's. "If you've always been stuck here, why not go outside?" Dragon Origin asked. "I'd love to," the boy replied, "but your father used a special method to seal me in here. He also wanted to keep those disgusting creatures in check." "Disgusting creatures?" At these words, Xiao Yin and Dragon Origin instinctively turned their gaze to the ground below. Evidently, the boy was referring to the extraterrestrial evil demons imprisoned within this dimensional space. "I know you've come to uncover the truth about the war from 10,000 years ago," the boy said. "Are you going to tell us?" Xiao Yin asked. The ancient calamity during the Emperor Alliance's downfall was rife with mysteries. It was a topic that intrigued everyone on the continent of Doqi. This boy, as the dimensional embryo, was a central figure in the entire affair. "Sure," the boy agreed without hesitation. Then he added, "But on one condition." "What condition?" Xiao Yin asked. "I want to leave," the boy stated. "That's simple enough," Xiao Yin replied. "Didn't I just tell you? The Dragon Emperor set up restrictions to seal me here 10,000 years ago. I can't leave on my own," the boy explained. "How can we help you?" Dragon Origin asked, raising a hand lightly. "I could easily shatter this dimensional space. Would that work?" Neither Xiao Yin nor the boy doubted Dragon Origin's statement. As a heavenly supreme powerhouse, his strength was more than sufficient to destroy this vast space of several 100,000 miles. "That's possible," the boy said, "but it would damage my dimensional origin to some extent." Dimensional origin? The dimensional origin is a unique existence possessed by every dimension. The degree of control over it determines the rank of a dimensional master, the boy explained. "Are there ranks for dimensional masters?" "Of course. Beings like you humans or natural divine beasts can master a dimensional embryo, as long as they have enough comprehension of the dimension. But the level of mastery determines the rank of the dimensional master," the boy continued. "The most basic mastery is sensing the dimensional embryo's presence and forming a faint connection, allowing limited use of dimensional power. A higher level involves gaining the dimensional embryo's recognition and fully controlling it, becoming a fundamental dimensional master. The Dragon Emperor was at this level. Is there an even higher level of mastery?" Dragon Origin asked. "Absolutely. That's when the dimensional embryo and the master merge, becoming one. The master is the dimension, and the dimension is the master," the boy replied. The young man in white looked at Xiao Yin and Long Yuan and said, "Of course, one of you must establish a connection with me and become the master of this dimension. Only by reaching the third level of integration will I be able to fully break free from the restrictions set by the Dragon Emperor." In the spatial realm, 3 figures stood atop a colossal Do-D stone monument. Xiao Yin and Long Yuan both stared at the seemingly youthful boy in front of them. Earlier, when the young man's voice reached their ears, it had made them slightly wary. Xiao Yin quickly turned his gaze to Long Yuan. If what the boy said was true, then the one most likely to control the dimension embryo here was Long Yuan. After all, the title of Heavenly Supreme alone was enough. "Stop looking at him." The boy seemed to notice Xiao Yan's thoughts and said directly, "Attempting to control and fuse with the dimension embryo comes with strict requirements. As for talent, Without fusing with the bloodline power of the true dragon clan, it would be impossible to break through to the heavenly supreme level with just the pure bloodline of the primordial ancient dragon clan. The Dragon Emperor is an example. Even if he could control the dimension embryo, he would never achieve full integration with me. To reach the third level of integration, the most critical condition is that the person must belong to this dimension, and all their bloodline power must originate from it. Hearing this, Xiao suddenly remembered that the 3 Do-Di bloodlines in his body indeed came from the continent of Do-Chi. The extraterrestrial evil clans continually attack lower dimensions because they only need to achieve the second level of control without requiring the third level of integration. Of course, their chances of success are still not high, the boy continued. Then let Xiao try, Long Yuan sighed. My goal has always been to uncover my father's final wish and to locate the continent of Do-Chi. Now that the latter has been found, it seems I have little chance of fully integrating with the dimension embryo, as it said. If that's the case, it's better to let Xiao take the chance. After all, Xiao has already reached the Earth Supreme level at such a young age. Give him a few hundred years, and perhaps he could become the first to ascend to Heavenly Supreme using the Do-Di bloodline on the continent of Do-Chi. I know there's another Do-Di who ascended from the continent of Do-Chi to the Great Thousand Worlds. With his innate talents bestowed by heaven and earth, he might have the best chance to fully integrate with the dimension embryo, Xiao said. Oh, you're talking about that flame entity from thousands of years ago, the one who emerged from fragment world number 140, just like you? The boy chuckled and replied, Let me ask you a basic question. Does an energy like flame, formed from heaven and earth, even have bloodline power? Hearing this, Xiao was quietly astonished. It seemed the dimension embryo had truly been connected to the continent of Do-Chi all along. Even knowing the exact details of the Tuo-Shi ancient Emperor Flame's ascension to Do-Di and departure. However, Xiao focused on another matter. Let me ask, what exactly is this fragment world number 140 you've been mentioning? Xiao asked. Oh, you probably don't know yet, but I can tell you now. The boy looked at Xiao and then, before giving the answer, countered with another question. Did you know that the continent of Do-Chi was once one of the 10 super lower dimensions? The current continent of Do-Chi is less than 1% the size of its original form. Xiao nodded. He had learned this from the ancient heavenly serpent patriarch. Decades ago, during the dual emperor war on the continent of Do-Chi, Xiao had speculated on the once flourishing state of the ancient era. If, in ancient times, the continent of Do-Chi truly housed a thriving world of myriad races, it was not far-fetched to imagine that Do-Di powerhouses might have been more numerous than the current Do-Sheng. In such a scenario, the battles between Do-Di powerhouses would have been catastrophic. 2 Do-Di powerhouses battling could devastate most of today's continent of Do-Chi. In ancient times, with so many Do-Di fighting simultaneously, it was no wonder the continent of Do-Chi might have been obliterated. Either the tales of myriad ancient races on the continent of Do-Chi were false, or the current continent of Do-Chi was incomplete. Xiao had come to the ancient dragon clan on the relic continent, seeking the truth. Father's final wish? Upon hearing this, Long Yuan hurriedly asked. This was one of the things he was most eager to know. Moreover, he believed that with his current strength as a heavenly supreme, he could accomplish anything short of overturning the Great Thousand Worlds. Let's start with the battle that led to the fall of the Emperor Alliance 12,000 years ago, the youth began. Xiao and his companion sat cross-legged, waiting for the dimension embryo to reveal all the mysteries of millennia past. At that time, due to the invasion of the extraterrestrial evil clan, hundreds of Do-Di powerhouses in the Emperor Alliance had already fallen. Among the 3 leaders of the alliance, besides the Dragon Emperor, who was in charge of the overall strategy, the Pill Emperor and Xiao Emperor both sacrificed themselves. The former perished together with an Earth sovereign to buy time, while the latter, burning his Do Emperor body and surpassing the limits of the Emperor realm soul, severely injured one Earth sovereign and dragged another to his death. By then, the Emperor Alliance, once so formidable, had fewer than 100 Do-Di powerhouses left, along with the struggling Dragon Emperor. On the other side, the evil and demon emperors numbered in the hundreds, along with 2 Earth sovereigns at full strength and 1 severely wounded Earth sovereign who had not yet fallen. The balance of power was overwhelmingly against the Emperor Alliance. Even the Dragon Emperor knew there was no chance of victory with the Alliance alone. Thus, he immediately devised 2 plans, one to preserve seeds and the other to seek external reinforcements, the youth explained, pointing to Long Yuan. The preservation plan involved 3 individuals: Yu, the ancestor of the ancient heavenly serpent, and the ancestor of the Gu clan. Of these, 2 seeds were magical beasts, and 1 was human. As for external reinforcements, the ancestor of the demonic tiger clan went to the ancient royal court, while the ancient heavenly phoenix ancestor sought aid from the newly established primordial divine hall. However, the plans faced many obstacles. Along the way, 2 seeds were intercepted and killed by the extraterrestrial evil clan, the Gu clan ancestor and the ancient heavenly serpent ancestor. That's not right. Didn't father send me to seek help from the true dragon clan? Long Yuan's heart trembled as he retorted. Think about it. How far is the true dragon clan from the relic continent? The Dragon Emperor merely gave you an excuse to reach the true dragon clan quickly. If he had told you that you were just a seed to be preserved, your young and reluctant self would have delayed endlessly, greatly slowing your journey. On the other hand, if you believed you were on a mission to seek reinforcements, you would race forward with a sense of duty, using every means to speed up your arrival. That was the Dragon Emperor's intention. Even then, you later realized that even with your utmost haste and the reinforcements you brought, the Emperor Alliance had already been destroyed. Whether you moved fast or slow, saving the Emperor Alliance was never possible, the youth said. The reason the Dragon Emperor was chosen as the grand leader of the Emperor Alliance was that his foresight always extended a step, even 2 steps, beyond others. If the goal was to seek help, then distant waters could never quench nearby fires. Only close allies could provide support. However, even in seeking aid, the Dragon Emperor held little hope. Predictably, the ancient royal court continued to hide like a turtle in its shell, and the primordial divine hall, being newly founded, sent only a few dozen supreme powerhouses. This force was pitifully weak and was completely annihilated halfway by an Earth sovereign. The youth's recount left Long Yuan in a daze. Everything he had previously believed to be true was now overturned. The Dragon Emperor, his father, now seemed both near and distant. The closeness lay in his father's determination to protect him at all costs. The distance stemmed from his father's unfathomable strategies. Still, the fact that you are here talking to me now proves that one of the Dragon Emperor's goals has been achieved, the youth remarked. And the other goal? Xiao asked. The other goal was to ensure that the continent of Doqi would not be discovered by the extraterrestrial evil clan. Without reinforcements, the rapid fall of the Emperor Alliance was almost inevitable, the youth explained. As for why the extraterrestrial evil clan launched such a massive assault on the Emperor Alliance, their purpose was straightforward. They wanted to invade the continent of Doqi. Xiao Yan's gaze sharpened. The ancestor of the ancient, heavenly serpent had already informed him of this. To completely control the continent of Doqi, they needed the dimension embryo of the continent. Precisely. They were after me, the youth continued. To counter this, the Dragon Emperor employed an extreme strategy, summoning all the Do-Di powerhouses from the continent of Doqi to the Emperor Alliance in the Great Thousand Worlds. The summoning was mandatory, using the dimension embryo's power to forcibly transport them from the continent of Doqi to the Emperor Alliance. As a result, people on the continent of Doqi only knew that all Do-Di powerhouses mysteriously vanished overnight, without knowing where they had gone. I have a question, Xiao Yan suddenly interjected. Since the Emperor Alliance had existed for thousands of years, much information about the Great Thousand Worlds should have been known and recorded on the continent of Doqi. Yet, before I arrived on the continent, why did no one seem to know of the Great Thousand Worlds? Heh, it seems you don't yet understand the abilities of the dimension embryo, Long Yuan remarked with a faint smile. Mastering the dimension embryo means mastering all matter and energy within a dimension, using them as one wishes. It even allows for feats such as reviving someone, provided their soul remains intact within the dimension. Similarly, Erasing the memories of all beings in a dimension is a trivial task. The Dragon Emperor deliberately erased all knowledge and records of the Great Thousand Worlds from the continent of Do-Chi. However, he didn't do a thorough job. Ideally, he should have erased all memories and records even among the Do-Di powerhouses. But I suspect leaving some records among the Do-Di was intentional. Xiao Yan's mind fully focused at this moment, quietly listening. However, the young man's next revelation left both Xiao Yan and Long Yuan utterly shocked. At the same time, the image of the Dragon Emperor in their hearts became increasingly maddened. The Dragon Emperor used the dimension Embryo to divide the vast continent of Do-Chi into more than 470 fragmented worlds.